Hey, what's up? Welcome to this new video. This one is paper 1 of October-November 2005 of A-Level Math. With that being said, let's move on to question number 1. So here we have to solve the equation 3 sine square theta minus 2 cos theta minus 3 equal to 0 for the value of theta between 0 and 180 degrees. Now, how are we going to solve this? So at first view, we will have to kind of play with the equation. Now here we have cos theta, so obviously we cannot change much with this one. However, for this one we can change something. We realize that sine theta, square theta, is equal to what? 1 minus cos square theta. So replace back in the main equation, you will have 3 times this, that will be 3 minus 3 cos square theta minus 2 cos theta minus 3 equal to 0. Now let's try to rearrange this. You will have what? Let's send everything to this side. You will have 3 cos square theta plus 2 cos theta. So here we have 3 minus 3. This will cancel out obviously. And then we have to equal to 0. Now from here we can actually factorize this equation, because here we have cos theta and cos square and cos, so you will have to factorize cos theta outside. So you will have 3 cos theta plus 2 equal to 0. Right. Now after factorization, obviously we can just solve to find the value of theta. The first value will be cos theta is equal to 0, and then we can have cos theta plus 2 is equal to 0. Now for this one, that will be cos theta is equal to minus 2 over the value of 3. Now let's look at one by one. So here we have cos theta equal to 0. So let's find theta. Theta will be cos inverse of 0. That should be what? Let's find out. Cos inverse of 0. Here we have to use degrees. That will be 90 degrees. Now this will also be what? 270, so 360 minus the angle, that will be 270. So we have two values for theta in this case, right? Because we have to know that even if it is 0, it will have to be in the first quadrant, ASTC in the fourth quadrant. This is simply theta. This is 360 minus theta. Now for this one, cos is negative, so we know that if it is negative, it will have to be in the second quadrant and the third quadrant. So here you will have to be 180 minus x, for example, and here have to be 180 plus x. Now x is not the answer obviously. Because we have the negative value here, I will try to go through the angle x. I will not be finding theta first, because I have a negative value here. Now it is obviously my technique that I apply every single time. So if you guys want to follow this, you can always follow this step. So to find x first, that will be cos inverse of the positive value of this. So x will be what? So cos inverse of 2 over 3, that should be 48.2 degrees. Now this is the value of x for this one when it is positive. However, here we need the value of theta. Theta will be according to the quadrants. As you can see, first one is 180 minus x. Now minus 48.2, that should be 131.8. And it can be 180 plus 48.2, that should be 228.2. Okay, now from this we can conclude that theta will be the value of 90 and 131.8 degrees, because the rest will be outside of the domain that we are allowed to find the value of theta. And that will be question in relation to trigonometry. Now let's move on to the next question. So in the diagram we have OAB. OAB is OAB, and OCD are radius of the circle. Okay, now we have center O here, right here, and the radius is 16, so this is 16, the whole thing. If this is 10, it means this have to be 6 logically, right? Because this is 16, this is 10, this will have to be 6. Now the angle AOC is equal to alpha radians. So this is alpha radians. Now part 1, in the case where alpha equal to 0.8, so in this case 0.8, we have to find the area of the shaded region. Now by observation, how would you find the area of this region? You can observe, to find this, we must first find the whole area, then minus this one. So number 1, let's find the whole area. That will be area of the big sector. That will be half r square. That will be 16 square. Theta is the angle. That will be 0.8. Let's see what do we get. Half times 16 square times 0.8. That should be 102.4. Now, we have to minus the one that we don't need, which is this one. So minus number 2 is this small sector. That will be half r square. Theta is, the angle is again 0.8. So let's see what do we have. That will be half times 10 square times 0.8. That should be 40. So the area of the region that we want to find will be number 1 minus number 2. So 102.4 minus 40. That should be 62.4 centimeters square for area. Correct to 3SF, obviously, for non-exact values. So this is exact actually, so it will be exactly 62.4. Now let's move on to part 2 of the question. So we have to find the value of theta, for which the perimeter of the region is this one. Now we first have to understand, what is the perimeter of a region? It is the distance around the region. So here in this case, we're given that the perimeter is given to you by 28.9. Now how would you find the perimeter? You have to observe according to the shape. You can see it will be this side, which is AB, which is also 6, so that will be 6 plus this one AC plus 6 plus BC have to equal to 28.9. Right, so we have to find these two values to help us to find the value of alpha. Now, in this case, we don't know alpha. We have to kind of derive alpha from this equation. So here we can do something. We can make AC and BC the subject first. 28.9 minus 6 minus 6. Let's see the what do we have. That will be 16.9 for now. So we have these equation for now. Now, how would you find BC? Observe. BC, sorry, this is BD, not BC. My apologies. That is BD. It's because this is AC and this is BD. So how would you find BD? If you observe, BD is simply the length of arc of the big sector. So we know that the arc length is found by using your formula, which is r theta, which is the radius, times the angle of the sector. In this case, this one will be, the radius is 16, times the angle, that will be alpha. So here will be 16 alpha. Now for this one, AC, same idea again. The arc length again, it is equal to radius times the angle. Radius is 10 times the angle, that should be this. So you can see here you have 26 alpha, 16.9 alpha will be what? 16.9 divided by 26. That will be 0.65 radians. So part 2, the angle alpha 0.65. Okay, and that will be the question in relation to circular measure. Let's move on to the next question. So in the diagram we have ABED. So ABED is a trapezium. Okay, with the right angles at E and D. So E and D are right angles, and CED is a straight line. CED is a straight line. Okay, great. Now, the length of AB and BC are 2D and 2 root 3D respectively. So this is 2D and this is 2 root 3D. Now the angles here, BAD is 30 and this one, CBE, is 60 degrees respectively. Part 1, find the length of CD in terms of D. So where's CD? CD will be this one. Okay, so how can you find the length of CD? Let's see. It will have to be in terms of D, obviously, in this case. So let's see how can we break this down. So you do realize that if we join these two, for example, let's call this x, we can see clearly that bx is the same as ed. Right. Now cd can be broken down into two pieces, right? It could be first is CE plus ED. So let me write this down. The length of CD, we can find this in two pieces. That will be CE plus ED. We can first find this one and then add this one to find the length of CD in terms of D. So let's first find this one. So let's see what can we do. So here we have a right angle triangle, right? Because this is a vertical line and we know this is at 90 degrees. Now, when we have a right angle triangle, we can use SOHCAHTOA to find the sides of the triangle. So let's see. Here we have the hypotenuse, right? And we're trying to find this side. This is the opposite side. So hypotenuse, opposite side, we have to use sine of the angle is equal to opposite side, CE, over the hypotenuse, 2 root 3. Now we know this is what? Sine 60 should be what? It is root 3 divided by 2. CE equal to 2 root 3. Now this and this will cancel out. Cross multiply, you will have 3 is equal to CE. So this here will be the value of 3. Now we have to find this one, ED. So to find ED, same step, we can first find BX. BX is the same as ED, so we can find this one first. So again, this will be 90 here, and we have a right angle triangle. We know the hypotenuse, we're trying to find the opposite side, we have to use sine, because according to SOHCAHTOA, right, if you observe, we know the hypotenuse, that will be h and h. We're trying to find the opposite side, that will be O and O. They will be this one. So again, sine of the angle 30, that will be bx over the value of 2d. Now we realize that sine 30 is half, right? If you can check, sine 30 is half. That will be bx over 2d. This and this will cancel out, so bx will be the value of d. Now this will be d. So we know that bx is equal to ed, so ed will also be bd. So from this we conclude what? We can conclude that, so here I think I'm missing something. So here we have root d here and d here. So that will be 3d, right? Because I missed the d here. That will be this, this, and this. Okay, makes sense. So d here, so this will be CE will be 3d plus ED, that should be D. So your answer will be 40. Okay, that will be part 1 of the question in terms of D. Now let's move on to part 2. So we have showed the angle CAD, where's C? C is here, CAD, okay, is equal to this. So let's see how can we find this. So let's join first C to A. Okay, and here we have this angle that we don't know, right? Let's call this is the angle CAD. Now tan, obviously we know that tan is what? Is TOA, right? Sorry, TOA is A here. So you have to be opposite side over A side. So let's see. Tan of the angle CAD have to be what? Opposite side, it is this side, has to be 40 divided by the A side, which have to be this side. Now we have to find those sides again. We don't know what is the value of this side. So again, AD, how can we find AD? AD will be this whole thing. Now by observation, AD is equal to what? It is equal to AX plus XD. That will be this plus this. Now for this one, how can we find this? So pretty easy. We can use SOHCAHTOA again. We can use the Pythagoras theorem. It is up to you. I guess I will stick to SOHCAHTOA because why not? So for this one, let's observe we have the triangle, this small one. That will be AXB. This is 90 and this is 30. Right, so we know this is 2D. We're trying to find this side. We know the H side, we have to find the A side, that will be cos. Cos of 30, that have to be the A side, which is AX, over the value of 2D. Now this is equal to what? It is equal to root 3 over 2. You have to know those exact values. Unfortunately, you have to know them. So this is have to cancel out. So AX have to be root 3D. That's the first part. Now for XD, for this one, so we realize that XD is same as B. So same as B, right? So we can find B first as well. So let's do that. So B, by taking out this big triangle now, so I have this big triangle outside, on top, that will be 90 here, that will be 60, that will be B, E, and C. This is 2 root 3 D. Okay, and what else do I know? I need to find this one. So again, I will take cos of the angle. That will be, the A side will be B over the value of 2 root 3. Now cos of 60 is half, so B will be 2 root 3. Cancel, cancel. So of course here I'm missing the D again, so BE will have to be root 3 D. Now replace back in the main equation, so you can see the length of AD have to be AX is root 3 D plus XD, that will be the value of root 3 D as well. So both seems to have the same value in this case. So let's see what do we get. So this plus this, that will give you 2 root 3 D. Now going back to this main equation, tan CAD will be the opposite side over the A side. That will have to be 2 root 3 D. Now let's simplify. This and this will cancel out. Divide by 2, that should be 1, and that should be 2. So right now we have tan of CAD, that will be 2 over root 3. So CAD obviously will be tan inverse of 2 root 3. Okay, so this is shown as required. I think the main idea here behind this question is using what is given to you. As you can see here, we have to show this is equal to this. Now, we can reverse this back. Now we can send this over here. We have tan CAD. Okay, so now we have to think, what is tan? Tan is the ratio of the opposite side over the adjacent side. So we have to go back to the triangle, realize it will have to be this divided by this. So we have to find this length, and then replace and solve to show that CAD is equal to this. And that will be the question in relation to trigonometry again. Now let's move on to the next question. Relative to a point O, the position vectors of P and Q are given by the following. Okay, great to know. We're given two vectors, OP and OQ, as follows. Now Q is a constant. Great, part 1. In the case where Q is 3, okay, which means OQ will be 2, 1, 3. We have to show that the angle cos POQ is 1 over 7. Okay, pretty easy. Now, POQ from O going to P and O going to Q. So here we can just use our knowledge of scalar product to show this. So it will be OP dot product of OQ have to be magnitude of OP, magnitude of OQ, and cos of the angle POQ. So let's see if we can show this is equal to this. So one by one, OP is given to you by -2, 3, 1. OQ by 2, 1. Q is now 3, 2, 1, 3. Now the magnitude of OP, pretty easy, that will have to be 2 square, 4. Again, 2 square and -2 square are the same thing. Realize that. That'll be 4 plus 3 square is 9, plus 1, that should be root of 14. That will be the magnitude of OP. Now same thing for this one. 4 plus 1 plus 9, that'll be 14 as well. And cos of the POQ. Now simplify here for scalar products. So minus 2 times 2, that will be minus 4, plus 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 times 3 is 3. That should be 2. So you have 2 here, you have 14 here, you have cos of POQ. Now finally we can just simplify. So cos POQ have to be 1 over 7, shown as required. That will be part 1 of the question. Now for part 2, we have to find the values of Q. So here we have more than one value, values of Q, for which the length this is equal to this. So let's find PQ first. What is PQ? PQ by definition have to be OQ minus OP. Again, the question will be, why is it OQ minus OP? It will be, you can derive this from a diagram that can show the direction. However, the main idea is that whenever you have to find a vector, say AB, we take the B first, OB minus OA. Same thing here, PQ, we take OQ minus OP. Now if you guys want to find the explanation behind this, you can always go to my channel and type in vector, and then you can find a video. It will explain this for you as well. Anyways, now let's find this one. OQ will be 2, 1, Q minus OP minus 2, 3, 1. 2 minus minus 2 is 4. 1 minus 3 is minus 2, Q minus 1. Right, that will be the values of the vector PQ. Now to find the length of PQ, that will be square root. First value is 16, so we have to square the values. That will be plus the value of 4 and then plus Q minus 1 square. So this have to equal to 6 units, so 6 units. Now we have to simplify, so we can square both sides first. So this will cancel out. You will have 16 plus 4 is 20, plus Q minus 1 square is equal to 36. So Q minus 1 square, that will be 16. Q minus 1 will be plus minus 4. Right. Now Q can be 1 plus minus 4. So Q can be the value of 5, or Q can be the value of minus 3. Okay, see, this will be the values of Q for which the length of PQ is equal to 6. Let's move on to the next question. So the diagram shows a cross-section of a hollow cone and a circular cylinder. Okay, so here we have a cylinder, right, and here we have a cone. That's a cross-section, obviously. The cone has radius 6 centimeters. Okay, this is the radius of the cone, 6 centimeters, and the height is 12. Height is 12, radius is 6. Now obviously the first thing that I'm thinking about is we can find the slant height. We can find this height because this is a right angle triangle. Obviously we can find this, but anyways, let's see what the question will be for this topic. Now the cylinder fits, it just fits, so it fits exactly inside of the cone with all of its upper edge touching the surface of the cone. So the cylinder fits exactly inside the cone. This is R and the height is H. Fair enough. Now part 1, we have to express H in terms of R and hence show that the volume of the cylinder is given by this. Now the first thing we can do is, how do you find the volume of a cylinder? Let me write this here. Volume of a cylinder is equal to pi R square H. So we have to know this. It is not given to you. So that's the first thing we have to know, how to find the volume of the cylinder. Now, how can you express H in terms of R? So let's see. By observation, the first thing that I can see here is, if this is 6, this is R, it means that this have to be what? This length over here. For example, have to be 6 minus R, right? And this also have to be 6 minus R. Okay? And this big triangle is 12 and the height is here is H. So if you do realize, in this case we have two similar triangle. Let me draw this out. So first we have this big triangle. I hope you guys can see that as well. the big one. The height is 12 and the radius is 6, right? And this is 90, obviously, as you can see. And then we have another one. We have this small triangle. Let me draw this as well. We have this one, the smaller one. This one is 90, and the height is h, and this is 6 minus r, right? So now, as you guys, I think if you guys did paper 2 for O-level, right, you do realize that whenever you have a triangle in another triangle, so a triangle in the big triangle, and this is in the same direction, it is vertical and vertical, it will be similar. So these two triangles are similar. We can use similarity to express h in terms of r, right? Now, what properties do we know about similar triangles? We know that their sides, the ratio of their corresponding sides are proportional to each other. So what does that mean? It means that if I take h, for example, h over the corresponding side will be over 12, it has to equal to 6 minus r over the corresponding side 6. So we can form this equation. So now we can simplify and express h in terms of r. So divide by 6, sorry, that will be 1, and that will be 2. So h will have to be 12 minus 2r. h in terms of r is right here. Now finally we have to find the volume. So volume have to be pi r square h. So pi is pi, r square is r square, and h is 12 minus 2r. That will have to be 12 pi r square minus 2 pi r cube. This is shown as required. So shown as required. Now for part 2, given that r varies, find the stationary value of v. So pretty easy. As we must know by now, at the stationary value, we have to know dv by dr has to equal to 0. So we have to understand that's the main equation we have to solve to find the value of that v for our stationary value. So first thing first, what is dv by dr? That will be 24 pi r minus 6 pi r square. Now equate that to 0. First thing first, we can divide by r on both sides. You will have 24 pi minus 6 pi r equal to 0. So 6 pi r, that should be 24 pi. This and this will cancel out. Divide by 6, that will be value of 4. The radius here will be 4 centimeters. But that's not the value we're trying to find. We're trying to find the stationary value of v. So replace back in your main equation for v. That will be 12 pi r square is 16 minus 2 pi r cubed. That should be what? 4 cubed. That should be 64. That should be 16 times 12. That should be 192 pi minus 64 times 2. That should be 128 pi. So 192 minus 128, that should be 64 pi. That will be centimeters cube, or you can find the value as well. That should be 201 centimeters cube, correct to 3SF. It's up to you. And that will be your question in relation to differentiation. Now let's move on to the next question. A small trading company made a profit of $250,000 in the year 2000. This is the profit the company made. The company considered two plans, Plan A and Plan B, for increasing its profit. Now, under Plan A, the annual profit would increase by each year by 5%. Okay, so the profit will increase by 5% each year of its value in the preceding year. Okay. Now, part 1, find for Plan A the profit for the year 2008. Okay, and then we have to find the total profit for 10 years. We have this until 2009. So one by one, we have to understand what's happening here. So we begin with the year 2000. For example, the profit was 25, so 250,000. That's a profit. Now, what is the profit in 2001? You would say the profit will increase by 5%. It needs to be what? So 5%, 5 divided by 100, times this. This will be the increase in profit. But the profit itself is how much? This plus the initial amount, which is 20, this. Now again, we have to understand what's happening. How can you find this directly? So this concept confuses many people, and I hope you guys can learn this. So we find the initial amount, which is 200,000, as 100%. We'll look at this in this way. Initial amount will be 100%. Now, when you increase that by 5%, the new amount will be what? 100 plus 5, it should be 105%. So let's find this amount. Now, it will be 105% of the initial amount. So let's do that. 105 divided by 100 times the initial amount. So this is 250. Sorry, 250,000 over here. So 250. So we have to multiply by 250. So 105 divided by 100 times 250,000. That will give you, hey, same value. So you can see the way I found this was taking 105%, which is 1.05, multiplied by the previous amount. Right. Now the idea comes again. If you want to find the profit in 2002, you will have to do what? Multiply this, the previous amount, by 1.05. So you have to be 1.05 multiplied by 1.05 times this. Right? Now again, it will be in the year 2003, for example, we have to multiply 1.05 to the one that we have, 1.05, 250,000. You get the idea. Now, we realize that it is what it is. This is multiplied by 1.05, and this is multiplied by 1.05. This is multiplied by 1.05. You can see here we have a common ratio of 1.05. That makes sense, right? Every time we are multiplying by the same value. And the first term is equal to A, which is 250,000. Okay. Now we have to find the profit for the year 2008. Now what term will be 2008? So this is first term, second term, third term, and fourth term. So for example, you see, second term is 2001, third term is 2002, so it is -1, fourth term is 2003, which means, for example, if I write 2005, it will be the sixth term. If I write 2008, it should be the ninth term. So we have to find the ninth term. So this is obviously going to be a geometric progression. So the ninth term will be A, which is 250,000 times R, the common ratio, and -1 will be 8. So let's see, what do we get? 250,000 times 1.05 power 8. That should be 369,363.8609. Now you can always write to 3SF. That should be 369,000. That will be term number 9. Now let's move on to part 2 of the question. We have to find the total profit for the year, for the 10 years. So we have to find the sum of the first 10 terms. So sum of the first 10 terms will be what? We can, that will be A, which is this. Have to be 1.05 power n, which is 10 terms, -1, over 10.05 minus 1. That will be 250. So 1.05 power 10 minus 1 divided by 0.05 times 250,000, that should be 314,473. Correct your 3 SF, that should be 314,0000. That should be the value for the profit under 10 years. Now this is the formula given to you as well. Now because R is more than 1, I switched the position. However, you can use the same thing because it will be the same thing at the end. If it is negative, it will cancel out top and bottom. Negative cancel out to be positive anyways. So again, this is the formula given to you. This is also a formula given to you on your list, so you don't have to memorize them. We just have to realize this thing. This is the first thing we have to realize. Then we can use that to find the following answers. Now for part 3, under plan B, the annual profit will increase each year by an amount of D, by a constant amount of D. So the idea here is that the first term, which is 2,000, that will be 250,000. Second term will be 2001. That will be increased by D, that should be 2 plus D, and increased by D, again, every time will be increased by the same value. So we have a common difference of D. That's what we have in this progression. Now, as we know, if we increase by the same amount, it will be an arithmetic progression. Now, part 3, we have to find the value of D for which the profit in the 10 years will be the same for both parts. So we know the profit, sum of the first 10 terms for a arithmetic progression will be half times n times 2a plus n minus 1 times d. So n is 10 minus 1 is 9 times d, we don't know. Have to give you the same profit, which is this one, 3144473. Let's find the value of this. Simplify. That will be 5 250 123 times 2. That will be 500,000 plus 9d have to be what? 3144473 divided by the value of 5 will be this, minus 500,000. So we have 9d is equal to 128,894.6. So d have to be what? Divided by 9. That should be 14,321.622. Now it is not exact, so correct your 3SF. We can write 143,000. Okay, and that will be your question for series regarding geometric and arithmetic progression. I think the toughest one is definitely the first part. You have to realize that, at least this progression, to solve the questions. Let's move on to the next question. So here we have 3 points, have the coordinates A, B, and C, as you can see here. Now the perpendicular bisector of AB meets the line BC at D. So first thing first, we have to find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of AB in this form. So pretty easy. We just have to understand what is the perpendicular bisector of AB. So for example, you have the point A here joining with the point B. Okay, and the perpendicular bisector is a line that passes through the midpoint at 90 degrees. That will be the midpoint of AB. So let's call this P. So we have to find the equation of P. Now we understand that to find the equation of a straight line, we must first find the gradient of P. Now to find this, we must first find the gradient of AB. Right. Now by observation, it means we have to know, because they are perpendicular to each other, we have an equation which relates both of them. So MP multiplied by MB, AB, have to give you -1. So we have to use that equation to derive the gradient of MP. But first we have to find AB. So pretty easy. We just use our formula that we know already. That will be y2 minus y1, so 10 minus 6, x2 minus x1. That will be this. That will be 4 over 6. That should be 2 over 3. From this, conclude that gradient of MP using this equation have to be -3 over 2. So now, since we know the gradient, and since we have a passing point of m is the midpoint, we have to find that. That have to be x1 plus x2 is 10 divided by 2, that will be 5. 6 plus 10 will be 16 divided by 2 will be 8. That will be x and y. So y minus 8 over x minus 5 have to be minus 3 over 2. So cross multiply to see what happens. You will have 2y minus 16 is equal to minus 3x plus 15. So 2y have to be minus 3x plus 15 plus 16. That will be, send this over here, that will be 3x plus 2y, and that will be 31. This is shown as required for this form. Ax plus by equal to c, where c is a constant value. That is part 1 of the equation. The question. So now we have to find the value of the point D. Now what is a point D? It says the bisector of AB meets the line BC at D. So it meets another line BC. Since BC, they meet at the point D. So we have to find this point of intersection. Now we have to first find out what is the equation of BC. It is also a straight line, so you first have to find the gradient of BC. That will be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 minus 10 over the value of minus 2, that should be 5. So the passing point there will be, so let's use the point C, that should be 6, 0. That'll be x and y. So y minus its corresponding value over x minus its corresponding value equal to 5. Now again, everyone asks me, why do I do this? This is just a way to find the equation of a straight line. Now if you guys don't know this way, you can, if you know other method, you can always use your method, right? Cross multiply, you have y equal to 5x minus 30. So here we have the equation of BC. Let's call this equation number 2, and this is our equation number 1. Now we understand that the point D is a point of intersection of the bisector and the line BC. Now whenever we have intersection, meets, join, or cuts, we have to solve a simultaneous equation. So here we have y as subject already. We can just replace y in this equation. You will have 3x plus 2 times y, that should be 5x minus 30 equal to 31. So 3x plus 10x minus 60 have to be 31. Simplify, that will be 13x have to be what? 31 plus 60, that will be 91. X will be 91 divided by 13, that should be the value of 6, 12 over 13. Now to find the y value of this, replace back in your main equation. So y will be 5 times answer minus 30. That should be 4, 8 over 13. So the point D is the x value and the y value. So here a very strange thing happened is whenever we tried to divide by 13, the value of x was exactly 7. So you can always use your calculator correctly. 91 divided by 13 will be 7. So x will be 7. Now for y, we just have to replace back in here. That will be 5 times 7 minus 30. That will be 5. And the point D will be simply 7 and 5. So always make sure to double check your values before you submit your papers, because you can avoid those silly mistakes. Now again, whenever you have those inexact values, non-exact values, you kind of have to suspect it might be wrong. So you have to double check your values to see what happened. In this case, you can see that I did something wrong in my calculator. I got this value, but when we tried again, it was 7, and x will be 7, y will be 5, and that will be your question in regards to. Let's move on to the next question. A function f is defined by f of x equal to this, right? For the values of x between 2 and 4. Okay, great to know. Now part 1, we have to find an expression in terms of x for f prime. F prime is simply differentiating the value of f of x. So let's do that. F prime will be what? Will be d by dx of this, that should be 3 first, 2x minus 3 power 2, then that will be 0. So 2x minus 3 square. Now we have to show that f is an increasing function. So we can see that since f prime of x is always going to be more than the value of 0, as you can see, always positive, right? You can see that we can conclude that f is an increasing function. Now you may ask me, how do I know it is always going to be more than 0? But if you observe, very simple. For any values of x here, we have square. Now when you square something, you're always going to be positive. You can write since we know that this square are always going to be more than 0. We understand that, or this, right? We understand that it will always be in positive value. It will never be negative, right? That's the main idea behind this. That's why it will be an increasing function. But here obviously it will never be equal to 0, because if you think for these values of x, this will never be 0, because it is only 0 when x equal to 1.5, and 1.5 is outside of this domain, so it would only have to be more than 0, right? Because of that, it will have to be an increasing function. Now part 2 now, we have to find an expression in terms of x for f inverse and find the domain of f inverse. So pretty easy, one by one. So in terms of x, first f inverse, we have to let y equal to f. That will be 2x minus 3 cube minus 8. Simplify. Send this over here, you will have y plus 8 equal to 2x minus 3 cube. Now 2x minus 3, that should be cube root of y plus 8. Now 2x have to be 3 plus cube root of y plus 8. Finally, x have to be 3 plus y plus 8 divided by the value of 2. Okay, so great. Now we have x in terms of y, so finally we conclude that f inverse of x, that will have to be 3 plus root 3 x plus 8 over the value of 2. And that will be your question. Part 2, we have to find next the domain of f inverse. So to find the domain of f inverse, right, we can just look at these values, right? So here we can look at that, or we can look at the other way as well. We know it has to equal to range of f. This is always going to be true. Domain of f inverse will be the range of f. So let's have a look. How can you find the range of f? We have to look at the equation. So f of x is given to you by 2x minus 3 power 3 minus 8. For values of x between the values of 2 and the values of 4. Now since it is an increasing function, we can first find the minimum value and the maximum value. So f of 2 will be what? 2 times 2 is 4 minus 1 is 1. 1 cube minus 1 should be minus 7. Now f inverse of 4, that will be what? So 2 times 4 minus 3 power 3 minus 8. That will be 117. As you can see, the function of f of x is between those values. So the y value is between those two, right? So we conclude that the range will be y is between the value of minus 7 and 117. Now we have to use this to find the domain of f inverse of x. Now, domain is defined by x value, so we just have to write, pretty easy, x between the values of minus 7 and 117. And that will be the domain of f inverse for the question in relation to functions. Let's move on to the next question. The equation of the curve xy equal to 12 is to this, and the equation of a line is given to you by this. So we have a straight line and a curve. Now where k is a constant. Part 1, in the case where k is equal to 11, so here we have 2x plus y equal to 11. In this case, we have to find the points of intersection of the curve and the line. So again, intersection means we have to solve a simultaneous equation. So here again, they ask me when do I know, or how do I know which one to choose first to make them subject. Again, it depends on you. Which one do you find easier? You have to do that first. For example, here I find y to be easier than to make x become the subject, so I'll make y. E is equal to 11 minus 2x. That is my equation number 1. Now here I have x times y. Y is also equal to 11 minus 2x is equal to 12. Now I just have to solve this equation and see what happens. That will be 11x minus 2x squared minus 12 is equal to 0. Now we can simplify. Let's send everything to this side. You will have 2x squared minus 11x plus 12 is equal to 0. That will be 2x times x. Now here we need minus 11, so let's see what can we have. We can have 1 times 12, or we can choose 4 times 3. So let's put 4 here and 3 here. To get minus 11, we have to have minus 8, which is 2x times minus 4 and minus 3. X will be 3 over 2. X will be the value of 4. Now for each of those values, let's find the value of y. When x equal to this value, y will be 11 minus 2, 3 over 2. That should be 11 minus 3. That will be 8. Y equal to 11 minus 2x. That should be 4. 11 minus 8. That should be 3. So the points here we have is, the first point is 3 over 2 and 8. And here we have 4 and 3 for the points of intersection. That is part 1 of the question. Now for part 2, we have to find the set of values of k for which L does not intersect the curve. So it means they do not meet, they don't have a root. So simple again, we were trying to solve an equation here. So we know the value of k. We don't know, sorry. For the question number 2, we don't know the value of k. We are trying to. So we have the first equation here is equal to 12. And the line is equal to 2x plus y equal to k. We don't know k for now. Now from this, y will have to be k minus 2x. Replace back in this one, you will have x times k minus 2x have to be 12. So kx minus 2x squared have to be 12. So 2x squared minus kx plus 12 have to be 0. This is my value of a, b, and c. So if they do not have a solution, it means that b squared minus 4ac have to be less than 0. Again, this means do not have a solution. We have to know whenever we see this, it leads to this. Now let's solve this. B squared is minus k squared, which is k squared minus 4a. A is the value of 2 and c is the value of 12, less than 0. So k squared will be what? Here we have minus 4 times 2 times 12. That should be 96. So we can try to solve this the usual way. 96, we can find root of 96. That should be, it's not exact. So let me see if I made a mistake here. No, I did not. So k for the critical values will be plus minus root of 96. So next step is, as always, we have to use our graph. Right, it will be something like this. This will be minus and plus. So k have to be between the values of minus, have to be less than 0. So less than 0 will be bottom, root of 96 and the root of 96. Okay, so that will be your question for part 2, where we have to find the set of values of k for which L does not intersect the curve. Now again, let me double check the value here. So here we have obviously minus b squared will be k squared minus 4 times a times c, so 4 times a times c, that should be 96. That will be part 2 of the question. Now for part 3, in the case where k is equal to 10, so now it is 10, which means we have 2x plus y equal to 10. That's the line. Now, one of the points of intersection is this. Okay, find the angle in degrees correct to 1 decimal place between L and the tangent to the curve at P. So how can we find this, if you think? So let me draw something, because it might be confusing sometimes, because that's always the best way to go with this kind of question. When it is hard to understand, draw something, right? So right now we have the equations. What we have equations of y equal to 10 minus 2x, and we have the equation of a line, which is curve xy is equal to 12. Now we are given that one of the points of intersection is P, so this is the point of intersection of the curve and the line. That will be 2, 6. Great. Now we have to find the angle. That's the answer that we need to find. In degrees correct to 1 decimal place between the line L and the tangent to the curve at P. Okay, so for example, we have the curve. Let's say the curve is something like this. It just needs to be a curve. Again, it is not the exact thing, it's just an idea for this question. Now we have the point P here. Let's say this is where my line and my curve intersect. Right? Something like this. If that makes sense. This is the line, y equal to this. This is the curve, xy equal to 12. Right. Now this is the point P, the point of intersection. Now we have to find the angle in degrees between L and the tangent to the curve. So tangent is a line. For example, you have to be this line over here. Right? So that will be my tangent. So we have to find the angle right here. So how can you find this angle between the line and the tangent? So let's see. So we can find what? We can find the tangent, or the equation of the tangent first. Let's see what can we do with that. So here the curve is equal to y is equal to 12 over x. That will be x power minus 1. The gradient of tangent is always going to be dy by dx. That have to be minus 12 x minus 2, which is dy by dx is equal to minus 12 over x squared. Now the gradient have to be dy by dx at the point P, which is the value of x is 2. That should be minus 12 over the value of 4. That should be minus 3. Okay, great. So now we have the gradient of the tangent. We can find the equation. That will be the passing point, x and y. So y minus 6 over x minus 2 have to be minus 3 over the value of 1. Now we can just cross multiply. You will have y minus 6 is equal to minus 3x plus 6. So y will be minus 3x plus 12 for the equation of the tangent. So now we have this equation as well. That'll be y equal to minus 3x plus this. This will be the equation of the tangent. Now we have the equation of the tangent and the equation of a line, so we just have to find the angle between them. Now how can you find the angle between two straight lines? So now we are at this stage where we have to kind of know, or not know, but kind of realize what can we use to find the angle between those two straight lines. Now again, so this, I don't think it comes out very often anymore. However, if you guys can know this, that would be great. So we know the gradient of the tangent is this one, minus 3. And the gradient of the straight line will be minus 2. So let's do this. Gradient of L is minus 2. And the gradient of tangent is the value of minus 3. Using those two directions, we can find the angle between them. So the formula we have to know is tan of the angle is equal to what? So I don't know if you guys learned about this, but if you guys didn't learn about this, that is okay as well. You can always learn now, or if you want to, because I don't think you guys will be tested on this theory anymore. But if you guys can know this, maybe for future, that is not too bad either. In this case, you can always go back to using vectors if you want to. It is up to you, or you can use this formula as well. That will be gradient of this number 1, which is this one, minus 2, minus the gradient of the other one, divide by 1 plus first times number 2, that should be 6. So you have tan inverse is equal to minus 2 plus 3, that should be 1 over 7. So theta will be tan inverse of 1 over 7. 1 over 7, that should be 8.1 degrees for the angle between two lines. Again, if you guys want more of an in-depth explanation for this formula, you can always search how to find the angle between two lines. There will be a few methods. One will be using vectors and one will be using this formula. Now again, this one is pretty easy as well. We just have to remember this. When you have two straight lines, the first line we have the gradient m1 and the other line we have the gradient m2. Using those gradients, we can find the angle between, which is going to be tan of the angle between is equal to modulus. It will be the first value minus the second value over 1 minus m times m2. So we have to recall this on how to find the angle between two straight lines. Now again, you can always use vectors to find that as well. And this one I think is way easier and more direct to find the angle between. But again, I don't think you guys will be tested on this. From the past few years, it did not come up for questions regarding angles between straight lines. Now let's move on to the next question. So here we have dy by dx is equal to this. Now we know we can rewrite this as 16x power minus 3. And 1, 4 is a point on the curve. This is a passing point we have on the curve. Now part 1. We have to find the equation of the curve. So now again, equation of the curve is simply finding the value of y, which is equal to integration of dy by dx, which is 16x power this. Let's solve. Let's see what happens. That will be 16 is only a multiple, will be outside. Then we have to find integration of this. That will have to be what? First, you have to add 1. That will be minus 2, and divide by the power. That should be minus 8 over x squared plus c. So y will be what? The value of minus 8 over x squared plus c. But again, we have to find the value of c now. The passing point is 1, 4, x value and the y value. Replace back, you will have 4 here is equal to minus 8 over 1 plus c. So c equal to 4 plus 8. That will be 12. So y have to be minus 8 over x squared plus 12. That will be part 1 of the question, where we have to find the equation of the curve. Now for part 2, a line with a gradient of minus half is normal to the curve. Okay? Now find the equation of the normal, of this normal, giving your answer in the form of this. So this normal, it has a gradient is equal to minus half. Okay, that's something we kind of know. Now, to find the equation of a line, we need a passing point. So how can we find this passing point? So if we have this, we realize that the gradient of the curve at that gradient have to be what? 2, because we know this is the curve, for example, and this is the normal, for example. We know that at this point we will need to have a tangent at 90 degrees. Now this tangent represents the gradient of the curve, so this have to be 2, which means dy by dx is 2. That will be 16 over x power 3 is 2, which means x cubed is equal to 8. X have to be the value of 2. This happens when x is 2, which means y have to be replaced back in the equation here. That will be minus 8 divided by 4 plus 12, that will be 10. So this is the passing point. Now we have a passing point, we have the gradient as well. We can use that to find the equation. That will be y minus this corresponding value over x minus 2 have to be minus half. Again, this is just a method to find the equation of a straight line. Cross multiply, you will have 2y minus 20 is equal to minus x plus 2. So 2y have to be minus x plus 22. And then finally we have to send this over here, becomes x plus 2y have to be 22, shown as required in this form. Last one, we have to find the area enclosed by the curve, the x-axis, and the line this and this. Okay, so very simple, just a diagram to kind of illustrate this. For example, we have the curve is here, the curve something like this. For example, we have these two, x equal to 1 and x equal to 2. So we have to find the area on the curve. Okay, so to find this area, obviously we have to use integration. The integration of y is minus 8 over x squared will be x minus 2 and plus 12. Respect to dx, and the top value will be 2 and 1. So let's see what can we do here. That will be minus 8 minus 1 divided by minus 1 plus 12x. That will be 8 over x plus 12x. That will be 2 and 1. 8 divided by 2 plus 12 times 2 minus 8 plus 12. Let's see what does that give us. 4 plus 24, that will be 28 minus 20, and that should be 8 units square for the area of the region that we need to find between the curve, the x-axis, and the lines x1 and x2. This will be the limits of integration. And this was the question in relation to integration. And this is the last question of this paper. Thank you for watching. I will see you soon.